Let's step into the ring with Fred Brophy. You seem to have lost a little bit of your finger there, mate.
That one I cut off to escape from prison. I used to have in my circus. The headless girl had one of them once. Grandfather had an alligator.
You've actually been shot a couple of times.
That was a long time ago. And as we're putting the tent up, fellas come over and said, I want to fight you, and if you win, we're going to spear you. And they said, what?
This podcast is brought to you by Savage Arms, maker of the new Revel lever action rimfire.
Hunters, farmers, sporting shooters, it's time to set your sights. It's time to unload on the podcast made for Aussie shooters with Brad.
For a lesser man, this would be a challenge.
Matt.
Quite frankly, I'm going to win this.
And Keith.
I am pretty much the rabbit-proof fence.
It's the NIOA Unloaded Podcast.
Coming up on the NIOA Unloaded podcast, today's guest is a true Aussie legend. A man who's been punched, praised, thrown in jail and banned in more towns than firearms have been banned in Western Australia. We're talking, of course, about Fred Brophy. From the outback to the coast, Fred has hauled his iconic boxing tent across Australia, challenging locals to step up and have a go. Fred doesn't just run a boxing tent, he runs a slice of living, breathing Aussie history. Let's step into the ring with the one and only Fred Brophy. Give him a rally. There we go.
That was a good introduction, damn. That was a good one.
Hey?
I like that. You should be on the board, not me.
On the boxing tent,
Yeah,
mate.
you should be, yeah.
Fred, I tell you what, mate, you are an iconic Australian legend. Hey, mate, how long have you been doing this for?
Well, I'm the fourth generation. I've been doing it ever since I've been a kid. When I was about 6, I suppose, I used to fight in the tent for pennies and halfpennies on the mat. You know, we used to be the first fight, and I'd find another kid about my age in the crowd, and we'd go and fight before the big blokes come in, and everyone used to throw money on the mat. So when we finished, we'd get a towel, and we'd throw all the pennies and halfpennies on, some threepences and sixpences,
Yeah.
and then we'd go out the back and share it. And then my cousins and that, Alan Moore and Paul Moore, they was fighters too.
Yeah.
Then after the show, they used to teach me how to play poker and take it all off me again. And I didn't realise at the time, but they did. And then I'd be out the front waiting for the next show. And that's how they taught me to keep getting up on the board, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And, of course, look, I can't forget, joining me as always here in the studio, would you please, another rally for Brad Johnson.
Good on you, Brad.
I'm there, Fred.
Good on you. You can play the drum for me.
Hey, now, Fred, Brad, mate, you've been to Fred's tent a number of times.
I have. I've been a regular at Birdsville over the last 20 years. So I remember walking into Fred's tent, I think 20 years ago out of Birdsville. Half full of drink like we all were back then. But it was a great night. And every time we head back out, we make sure we go up there and visit Fred in the tent, see what's new.
Did you ever step into the ring?
Oh, hell no.
He was around the ring, not in the ring.
Oh, I love it, not a fighter, mate.
So, mate, can you tell us, where were you born and where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up on the showgrounds. I grew up amongst Slim Dusty and all them blokes, Chad Morgan. They all worked for my uncle on the showgrounds, and there was all tent shows in those days.
Yep.
The fat lady, the tattooed pig, the girl in the goldfish bowl, the headless girl. I had one of them once. And, the headless girl. She used to work for me. I felt sorry for her. Her husband left her because she lost her head.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, I grew up in that environment. My family had circuses as well.
Yep.
My mother was a trapeze artist, and my father and that all fighters and that, you know. So I was brought up in that environment, and I just love it, and that's the reason why I got into it. I was born at the Perth show, actually, when the Perth show was on. I don't tell anyone I was born in West Australia. They don't like the place. Yeah. But because they don't like if you come from the eastern states, they won't talk to you.
Oh, mate, I know exactly where you're coming from, Fred.
Yeah, and we used to go right around Australia in those days, right up to Darwin, right across the Kimberleys, right down through the Kimberleys over to Perth, and Perth show was on in October.
Yep.
And the 2nd of October I was born there because my mother was at the show.
Yep.
And then we come back across the Nullarbor over to Queensland again, back to Australia.
There you go.
Geez, I tell you what, mate, if you were going to tell me that your mother gave birth while she was on the trapeze.
No, she couldn't work that week.
She was off.
She had a week off.
Oh, no, that's nice. So, Fred, when did you realise that this was the life for you?
Well, ever since I've been a kid, Sideshow Alley was all tent shows.
Yeah, right.
People say Sideshow Alley, you go down there now and all you see is rides.
Yeah.
Mechanical rides. Well, in my days, Sideshow Alley had sideshows down it, and there were spruikers out the front of everyone. And I'd stand in front of everyone all day just watching them spruik. I thought, I'll have a tent show. I want my own. So I went up and bought about 100 mice. And I got them to dye them different colours, pink, red and green and that. And out the front I had mice lifting weights and walking tight ropes and swimming and all that. And I said, this is the mice circus. They'd come in and they said, well, where's all the mice and that? So where's the swimming mice? So I had this, swimming pool in the middle. I just got a handful of mice, threw them in, and they had a couple of boats in there. So automatically they'd go to the boat to get out. And then I said, yeah, that's a bit weird. And then they said, there's a train there, and the train's going around. They got all these mice on the train, and they're looking at them, see? And it's going around. Next thing, this is the first day open. It's going around, and this she started screaming, ah! I said, what? So that mice just lost a bit of tail because its tail went in, and the train run over, only cut about that much off the end of it. Anyway, she started screaming, and she went out, and I didn't take much notice. Next thing they come down, these people come down dressed up in suits and white outfits. They said, we're from the RSPCA, and he's a vet, and we've come down, we've heard you've got an injured mice. I said, what? And she's there too. She said, yes, in there. And I said, injured mice? And she come in, so they come in and the train's going around, see? And they're looking at it. And they said, and she said, there it is there, look, that one there. It was a red one or an orange one. And there's about 12 mice on there. And they're each in one carriage. Yeah. So he said, stop the train. So just a battery, I just turned it off. And the train stopped, and they're all looking at the mice, and the mice are looking at them. And she said, there it is. And the vet went over to pick the mice up, and when he picked the mice up, the whole track come off the train. Yeah. I had to stuck with super glue. I stuck them on, see? With super glue, because that was when they come in. So I stuck them all on there, see? Otherwise they'd get off. And he lifted it up in the super... And the train was with the mice, and he said, they looked at each other and said, close this down straight away. I'm going to get a vet. Anyway, I closed it up, and then they took off. And as soon as ever they took off, I pulled the tent down and got out, let the mice go. Let the mice go on the showgrounds. I just packed up and just hit the toe and never went back.
Glued the mice.
Yeah. Well, that was when the super glue first came out. Yeah.
I love it. I
look forward to your emails.
Well, that was me first show, but I never got back into my circuses after that.
No, that's right.
Good grief. Fred, for those who don't actually know, just describe, just describe for them what a boxing tent is and what the whole format is.
Well, a boxing tent hasn't changed much in 100 years, and boxing was the first entertainment in Australia before horse racing. Mm-hmm. So out in the goldfields, used to say there was 27 hotels in Ballarat or whatever. Well, if you had a tent and put it up and put a sign out, you could. There was no laws in those days. So if you wanted to make your own brew, you could. So this bloke in this hotel said, well, Johnny Weismuller's going to fight Eric Clapton, in another month's time at my pub. Yeah. And they go around and put all these signs up, just write them out and put them up all around all the trees and that. So when it come up on the Saturday, they'd all come down to his pub, they'd drink, he'd draw a circle out in front of it. Yeah. And that's where they used to fight. Bare knuckles in those days.
Yeah, wow.
And that's when the first entertainment started. Now, this bloke that won this fight, another bloke would challenge him from Bendigo or something like that, so that was a big thing. So everyone used to go to that bar on that once a month or something. So that was the only entertainment they had. They said, hang on, this is all right. You get all these people here. I'll put a sidewall up.
Yeah.
So they had a hessian made out of bags, put a sidewall up and charged them again like a penny or something to get in and to watch the fights, and they were selling grog as well. So that's where it all started. And we have a mat. The ring is the square mat on the floor, and the people are the ropes.
Yeah, yep.
And that's how it's been for years. And people actually, I line up out the front and I've got all my fighters, and wherever I go, I challenge anyone in the crowd that puts their hand up, as long as they're sober, they can have a fight. So we go everywhere in Australia, every town, Adelaide, Brisbane, all them, Darwin, Canberra, and if anyone wants to fight, we don't care. If they're Australian champions, we'll fight them. So it takes a man, a fair dinkum Australian, to get up the ladder to fight one of my blokes they've never seen fight before, and it's the same as my blokes are going to fight. They don't care who they fight. Whoever I usually match them up.
Yeah,
pretty
you got to
good.
match up weight-wise, yeah.
So speaking about that, Fred, how do you find the fighters? Do the fighters come to you? They find you?
In the old days, I used to have to find them.
Yep.
But now they find me. And even all the boxing schools and gyms, they have a lot of trouble getting people, if they're going to go for Australian title or something, they have a lot of trouble getting sparring partners.
Oh, yeah.
So when I'm in town, they bring them down, especially because it's fair income, and they'll get someone about their own size. And I usually judge by the way they walk, the way they move, the way they answer questions, and how good they are.
Yep.
Like that's my trade, I suppose.
I was going to say, has that just come from the years of experience? You can get up there, you can sort of pick where they're, what their level might be.
Whether they're lying to you or not. Have you
Well, there's a few of them lying, and they say, they tell lies, and I say, you never got that nose for picking tomatoes, mate. I can tell you that. So it's like you can sort of judge, and it's been pretty good over the years, and that's a part of doing what I've done for years. Yeah, and
how would they go with Darwin though? Everyone can fight at Darwin, can't they?
well, yes, or Alice Springs, Alice Springs there, but. If they've got soup in that in them, I don't let them fight. No, if they're drunk, so they've got to walk the plank.
Yeah. Who were your heroes or influences when you were growing up, being in that environment and that lifestyle?
Well, two of my cousins, Alan Moore and Paul Moore, they won the welterweight title of Australia. They're only two brothers. One of the toughest blokes I've ever known in Australia, well, there's been a few of them, but one of the toughest is a bloke called Bronco Johnson.
Oh, never heard of it.
He comes from Mount Isa. He was a miner.
Okay.
He fought the best of them, and his son used to fight for me. That's the friendly mauler.
Right, okay.
The reason why is to call him the friendly mauler because every time you hit him, he got real friendly with you. and then he's got his son, which is Bronco Johnson's grandson, Mr. Colby Johnson. Yep. He's the baby mauler. Yeah. He's just like his old man. And then he's got his sisters. They all fight for me. That's the mauler mob. The mauler mob from Mount Isa. They're everyone in Australia knows them. They're good. And I had the cowboy. He was a good fighter. Never lost a fight.
I was going to touch on him because he is fairly iconic in that boxing tent world.
No, unfortunately, he passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was a great fighter, the cowboy. He left his mark right around Australia, actually. Yeah. He's got little cowboys everywhere. Out at Mount Isa, South Australia. So he left his mark behind. Yeah. And
don't take any ancestry DNA tests.
Yeah, that's right. He used to he used to ride bulls, used to ride cows, used to ride camels. Actually used to ride it. He get his hands on, as a matter of fact. And he did leave his mark. You can ask a few of the shearers out there.
Yeah. I remember being out at Birdsville there, and there was a group of shearers there from Quilpie or something.
Oh, they could fight. They could fight, yeah. Actually, I gave him a job, that bloke, one of them blokes. Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather on my side.
No, fair enough. Yeah. So, mate, how did you come to take over or start Fred Brophy's boxing team?
Well, as I said, my grandfather had it, then my great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my uncle, Selby Moore, had it. Yep. And he had it for quite a while. And then Alan and Moore, which is my cousins, they was fighting out of the boxing tent. Then Uncle Selby passed away. Right. So my oldest cousin, Alan, and Paul, they took the boxing tent over for about 4 or 5 years. And I was just coming through. And they had had enough. So I said, well, it's my turn now. I'll take it.
Yeah, right.
So I took it on from there, and I'm still here now. And I'm one of the luckiest blokes in the world because I've achieved what I wanted to do. A lot of people want to do things, but they don't get to where they're going to get, to their goal. Well, I've achieved it, and I'm pretty proud of it, and that's all I ever wanted to do. Yeah.
So how many years have you been in charge and running it?
Well, since I've been about 20, and I'm 73. So.
Wow. 73.
So in saying that, so you've been everywhere. What is your favourite town to set up the tent in?
Birdsville.
100%.
Birdsville.
The last of the wild frontier, that joint, I can tell you.
When I used to go there years ago, there'd only be about 500 people used to go to the races. Mm-hmm. And then now it's been up to 8,000 or 9,000. And the population's only in Birdsville's only about 20 people, I think. Well, you can go into one of my tents. Yep. I don't care how many times you go in and you come out, and someone will say, that it never went in. And say, well, what was it like? And you you'll start to explain, but you can't explain it. You cannot explain it, can you?
No, you cannot.
You can't.
Yeah. And, you start to see some clips and stuff on YouTube, but you've actually got to be there, haven't you?
Yeah. You got to be there. You got to listen to the crowd. You got to listen to Fred. You got to listen to the sounds of it. The hits. It's all the part of the experience.
It's a part of the show, and my job is to make sure everyone's safe. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a good time. Everyone laughs. They all sing in me tent now when we start. Sweet Caroline, I started that 20 years ago, and now they're all doing it. Even at the Melbourne Cup last year, they put music on for the first time. Sweet Caroline, it was 80,000 people sang it.
Yep, they do it at the football. They do it everywhere. Yeah.
Well, I was the one that started that.
Yeah, good work.
Yeah,
Fred gets the credit.
He does. He
He definitely gets the credit.
Well, I'm the fairest referee in the Outback too, as well.
Well, in fairness, though, you're the only referee in the Outback.
I'm the only one game enough to do it. Ask Bob Catter. He'll tell you the fairest referee is.
Bob.
I can imagine Bob Catter in his younger days getting in the ring.
You didn't ever get Bob in the ring, did you?
He's been my card man once.
Yeah. I know you told us
Pauline Hanson did.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of characters out there.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, Bob loves it because it's Australian. There's nothing more Australian than what I do, and it belongs to everyone in Australia. I'm just running it for everyone.
Exactly right. Yeah, nothing more Australian than Bob too. The two of you guys
He
should
doesn't
be
miss a show.
on the next $10 note.
and Robbie likes it too. Actually, I give Robbie one of my old racehorses, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Talking about racehorses.
Oh, here we go.
We're talking about Birdsville. I'm just going to hijack this part of the show.
Why wouldn't you?
So, Fred, you've been very open. You always want to win a Birdsville Cup.
I've always wanted to win one. I've been trying for about over 30 years.
Yep. Okay, but there's a bit of a story with this, okay, because I've heard that I think you've been with your wife for, 40 years?
Oh, easy, yeah.
But you're not married.
She won't marry me. Well, she said, you've either got to give up drinking or you can win the Birdsville Cup. And I said, well, I'll have a go at the Cup. I haven't won it yet. I've run second twice and third once. Yeah. But it could be this year, could be my year.
Cross my fingers for you.
Well, I've rang Peter Moody up and he's looking for a horse for me.
Good work.
Oh,
and Julie Johnson will train it. Gets to the front.
This could be the year.
It's got to be a front runner out there because they don't look that bull dust when they come around that corner.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah.
Mate, what's the weirdest or the wildest time? I mean, you're been dubbed as, I think, the last great Australian showman. But in all your years, what's been some of the weirdest or wildest adventures you've been on?
Well, I reckon Borroloola would be one.
What's that?
Well, Borroloola's up in the Northern Territory. Yeah. And when I used to go up there, the hotel used to be open, Borroloola Inn. I used to work the boxing tent out the front of it. And we went up there one year and I had the friendly mauler with me, Cowboy, and another 2 or 3 blokes from Mount Isa. So I'd never been up there before, see? So they said, you got to go up there because they all want to fight you. They come down to the rodeo, a lot of them, fighters. They said, come on, we're going up to Borroloola. We'll see what it's like. And they're all looking at me. That's a wild town. And I said, we'll give it a try. So we went up and put the tent up out the front. And as we're putting the tent up, there's about 8 or 9 black fellas come over and said, I'm going to fight you. I want to fight you. I want to fight you. I want to fight you. And if you win, we're going to spear you. And they said, what? I said, if you blokes win, we're going to spare the lot of yous. Anyway, these blokes looked at each other and they said, we'll be back. I said, good. And away they went. Next thing, these blokes packed up, got in the car and took off. And all I had left was one bloke and the friendly mauler. Yeah. I said, well, it's a waste of time, mauler. He said, no, it's not. I said, why? He said, I've always wanted to show get these blokes to show me some respect from Borroloola. He said, I'll fight all of them. I said, well, it's only you and this bloke and the drum. He said, well, let him have one. He said, and I'll take the rest. I said, okay. So we lined up. Anyway, they're all waiting out the front. We're going to kill you. Where's all the rest of the blokes? And they said, I've only got the friendly mauler. They've himself and they've taken off because of you. They're going to spear him. There's no spears allowed in the tent. No spears. And if you got any out in the crowd, put them away. Anyway, I get up on the board and I've got one bloke. I said, hands up, who wants to have a fight here? And everyone in the crowd put their hand up. There's about 150 of them or something. I said, hang on, I want just one bloke for the bell, that's on the bell. So he said, yeah, okay, you get up here. And the mauler's up there and he's sort of just looking at him like that. And I said, now, who wants to fight the mauler? And they all put their hand up, everyone in the crowd, and they're starting. I said, look, the stages are going to fall over. I said, just get back there. And the mauler said, look, I'll fight you all, but you got to pay to get in. Yeah, that's all right. I said, well, he'll fight you, and when you go inside, just line up the challenger's end and he'll fight you. Yeah, so they all paid to come in. They all wanted to fight him, see? Yeah. So we went in and let the bloke in the bell go first. He beat the bloke. Yeah. So anyway, there was these three brothers, and they're called the Bad Brothers, that was. That was into the Bundy boys, the Bad Brothers. So they're the first three. I said, you line up inside, you three, or get rid of you first. So anyway, we come in, and whoever's in the crowd was there, and I got one bloke down my end, he's had a fight, and I got the mauler, and he's standing up, with his shoulders back like this, and he strapped his hands up, and he's looking at these other blokes, and the lion went from the other end right around the ring, right around to nearly come around to itself again. Jeez. And I told them, kneel down so the people at the back can see, because they paid to get in. Yeah. And these blokes want to fight him, but they're all lined up. So anyway, the mauler said, look, I'm not going to muck around here, Fred. There's a feud. I've got to fight. I said, yes, a feud. He said, so, okay, how do you come? And blew the whistle. Yeah. I said, you're the real bad brother. Yeah. That was Bundy Rum, they called him. Yeah. You get out here first. He was the kingpin. Yeah. So the mauler said, I'm not going to muck around, Fred. I said, look, just get it over and done with. He said, yeah. So he's come out to I think he lasted about 3 or 4 seconds. The mauler put him down, hit him up the ribs down here when he started spewing. We just took him out of the ring. Dragged him off the bat, ready for the next go. Yeah. Anyway, the mauler's still standing. He hasn't sat down yet. No, he said, come on. Next, and his brothers here come and run in. Bang, down he goes. He didn't muck around with him. There's another one off the mat. That's the second best. Then his other brother's looking at him a bit shifty. And he come, bang, he's gone, hit him up the guts. Anyway, now by this time there's about 3 or 4 leaving the end of the end of the line. Then one saying, you can have my place, and he's gone and sat down, and the line's starting to go back like that, and the next bloke's come in, bang, down. He didn't even sit down. I think it must have been 8 or 9 of them he got. By the time he got to the 9th one, there was the 10th one sitting down, and there was no one in the line. They'd all sat down. Anyway, this bloke's looking. The mauler hasn't sat down yet. He's about 9, 10 of them. He's got 9. Anyway, he said, come on. And he's sitting down looking at him. He said, come on, get off your chair and get out of here. And he looked at him, and he's got his gloves. And he looked at the mauler, and he's sitting down, and he got his glove, and he just threw him off. He said, no, you're too good for me, mauler. You're too good for me. And that was fair. And he'd done the lot, yeah.
And you did it with 2 fighters.
2 fighters. Oh, well, 1 fighter, really. Yeah. And but that line, mate, she just kept going smaller and smaller and smaller.
That must have been a wild night.
That was the wildest one I've ever had. And after it's all over, the mauler come and said to me, I think they'll respect me now. I said, I know they will. He got real friendly that night. Oh, that's the friendly mauler, Bronco Johnson's son. Yep.
Take us through the lineup of the fighters you've had.
When they come with me, I give them a name. I look at them and give them a name, like Hot Chocolate.
I think my personal favourite from the last show is Chopsticks.
He's been with me for a few years. Yeah. Chopsticks been with me for about 10 years. Yeah. And after about 5 years, he came up to me and he said, Fred. And I said, what? Because he doesn't talk much. Yeah. And he said, I'm not Chinese. And I said, well, you look like a Chinaman to me. He said, but I'm not. I said, well, what are you? He said, I'm Taiwanese. I come from Taiwan and I don't like Chinese. I said, I don't like them either myself, as a matter of fact. I said, from now on, you're from Taiwan, Chopsticks from Taiwan. Yeah. That's how he got his name, Yeah. Okay. But I didn't know. I thought he was Chinese because he looks Chinese, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, he does. Well, he does. What do you mean? I got the Barramundi Kid.
Yeah, tell us about the Barramundi Kid.
Well, he used to catch barramundi up in Burketown.
Oh, right.
So I call him the Barramundi Kid.
Yep.
And I've got the Black Lizard. He was a white fella, as a matter of fact.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Albino.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And I've had heaps of them, And the Brown Bomber, he's a pretty good bloke. We've got the Hulk. The Hulk, he's there. But Afro Savage, Cowboy, Kid Goanna.
We that last one, not the one we've just done a couple of years ago though, Fred. We had the Beaver there.
The Beaver.
Oh, the Beaver.
And I got to tell you, we had a lot of people from overseas, a lot of people from America here.
I got photos with the Beaver.
They could not believe their eyes, especially when the Beaver got up to fight. They couldn't believe it.
Yeah, well, the Beaver. Well, she's been with me for about 10 or 15 years, and she's Pauline Hanson's secretary.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, the Beaver's got hairs on her legs that are spear a rat. That's how tough she is. As a matter of fact, Still Chainsaws sponsor her and give me an electric chainsaw for her to shave her legs. Yeah. Yeah, chains. She's got a little chainsaw. But some of them little battery ones, you know.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, you wouldn't
She's got to
want
have a shave too as well every now and then. Yeah, she can fight all right too.
Yeah, no, I saw
We
that.
saw that.
We
Yeah,
saw that, yeah.
yeah.
But, no, the Americans, speaking of that, do you get many people from overseas come to your tent that you know of? Do they travel to visit you, do you know? Or
Well, we had someone back there from Sweden or somewhere that seen me before, and they're travelling around. They come up to Walloon just to have another look.
Yep.
And and they can't believe it. A lot of them.
No, we found that.
Especially from America, and that I should actually go over there if I wanted to, but I'm flat out here. I don't want to leave Queensland. I mean, this is Australia, you know. As I said, I'm just running it for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm just a figurehead, that's all. I think because it's the last of it, when I go, that'll be a bit of Australia that's gone, and I'll keep it going as long as I can.
Yep.
And the people seem to enjoy it. There's not much Australiana left now, you know, like the rules and regulations and all that. And so anything Australian, we've got to keep, you know, like wood chopping and all that sort of stuff. You know, they're trying to stop everything, you know, the greenies or whatever they are.
Yeah.
But
well, we know full well we're in the industry of selling guns, so we know they're trying to stop everything.
You've had a bit of a taste of it, haven't you?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, you know, like, we just got to keep Australian things going wherever we can.
So talking about the boxing tent, travelled all around Australia. There's only one state left you can go to. Queensland's it?
No. If I want to go to New South Wales, I was the last boxing tent to work there about 40 years ago.
Yep.
If I want to go to Victoria, I can go back there. I was the last boxing tent to work there 40 years ago. The reason why I don't go back there is because their government wants me to change my boxing tent to suit their rules, which is having a ring, and your fighters can fight once a month and all that, put me in the same category. Well, mine, I've got a boxing tent as a show. It's been like that for over 100 years. Mm-hmm. So I don't work there. That's the reason why I don't. But I can work in South Australia.
Yep.
I can work in Western Australia.
Yep.
I can work in Canberra, where all those lovely politicians are. I can work in the Northern Territory. I can work in Queensland. So I've got plenty of places I can go to, but I'm getting old now and I just hang around Queensland.
And Fred, I can only imagine over the years there's been probably a few hairy situations, you know, that the crowd, all that sort of stuff. But mate, through the bit of research, you've actually been shot a couple of times. You want to tell us a bit about what happened there?
Well, that was a long time ago. That was just before I reckon I could have kicked on and won a title, but it was about 21, and I had a fight with a bloke and I beat him, and he went and got a shotgun and double-barrel shotgun. He shot me in the legs. And I got 85 in one leg and 17 in the other, and my sister got about 7 in her. She was standing behind me.
Wow.
He was a sore loser, and I haven't shot a duck ever since. I haven't shot a duck ever since.
Well, given that we're talking about guns and it's been such a long time since Fred's actually shot one, we might get him down into the range for the celebrity challenge. What do you reckon?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, let's head down to the range and see how he went. All right, Fred, are you feeling ready?
Yeah.
On your marks, set, go. Ten seconds. 20 seconds. 30 seconds.
That's it, mate. You've emptied it.
All right.
That was swift shooting, Fred.
Good shooting, Fred. So here it is. So, Fred, I tell you what, mate, that's for a guy that hasn't shot for a long time, Brad, we've got a fair bit of a spread there.
But whatever you were aiming at was in trouble, I can tell you that.
Correct. It's because he got 10 shots on the paper.
Yeah, well, I thought that was the bloke that shot me.
That's where you were
reason why I was
focused.
quick. I was getting back at it.
Well, he wouldn't have been happy, I can tell you.
No, that's
so,
right.
yeah.
You got square with him.
Well done, mate. Well done. Hey, listen, what's been one of your proudest moments with having the boxing tent?
I suppose when the government give me an OAM.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that a little bit because there's, you've had quite the colourful past, and I don't want to dwell on too much, and we'll certainly get to that OAM. But I didn't think anyone could get an OAM if they'd been to jail. And then, if we're honest, you've been to jail.
Well, that's true. But first time in trouble, I got 3 years actually. But just for fighting. They was going to belt me and kill me, so I put a few in hospital.
Right.
But I went to jail when I was under 18.
Right.
And I come out when I was over 18. So I went in as a juvenile, then I went into the mainstream.
Right.
And I got out and it taught me a lesson. I'm not going back there again at all. I learned me how to cook there. I said, this is one place I won't be coming back to, and I never broken the law ever since. So when I got out, I've got a clean record.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest honour I've ever had. And, yeah, and last year at Mount Isa, the Prime Minister gave me another one, was a GA, Great Australian.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was, and Bob Catter gave it to me with
Yeah. So just tell us a little bit more about the OAM, because that is a significant award to get, and that was obviously for services to entertainment industry.
Yes, services to the entertainment industry in the outback.
Yeah, right.
and raising a bit of money for the Flying Doctor and
Yep.
and for the school and that, and just entertaining people in the outback. It's pretty hard to explain, but it's the biggest thing in my life.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, so obviously young, been to jail, learnt a little bit in that sort of system and that sort of stuff. I tell you what, did you hone any of your fighting skills there?
Well, I tell you what, it's a true story. If you can't fight when you go to jail at that age, anything can happen to you, boy. And I tell you what, that's when I could fight.
Yep.
And I saved a few blokes in there too as well.
Yeah, wow.
So all I'm saying is just out there, just don't break the law, because it's not worth it. And it is true what they say about jail. So do yourself a favour. Don't cross the line. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So, Matt, how do you think you'd go in jail?
I'd probably be in the fetal position in a corner somewhere, Brad. Yeah.
You'd be dead.
Yeah, or probably sharing a cell with bad boy Bubba or something like that. So I don't know. Whatever it is, it wouldn't be good.
No, that's right.
Yeah. How do you think you'd go?
Yeah, about the same.
Yeah.
You've got crocodile. I want to know about this crocodile.
No, it's not what a crocodile.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. My grandfather had an alligator.
Oh, what is a pet?
Yeah, well, we had it on the showgrounds, and we used to show it in, as a tent show.
Yeah.
And he was the first alligator to ever come to Australia.
I was going to say, that's why when he said alligator, I said, that can't be an alligator. They're in America.
Look, we were talking to our boss. He said, ask him about the alligator.
Yeah. What happened, my grandfather, because he had a circus as well, and he had an importer's license, so he used to get things in for the other showmen and that, elephants and all that. And he got an alligator in from the Okefenokee swamps in Florida it come from. And his name was Mickey. We called him Mickey the alligator. And I remember in those days, my grandfather had and it was all open air trucks in those days. There was no Pantex or nothing. And he got this cage made. It was about, this alligator would have been about 16 foot long, I suppose, a big one. And he got a cage made for it, and he used to walk it in, and he'd walk it in one way and then open the end, and he'd walk it out that way. So that was the last thing to go up on the top of the truck. And he had a winch, and he used to wind the cage up and put Mickey the alligator right up on the top. And they put a tarp over him, and that's where he used to ride from show to show, going up to Cairns, North Queensland. I remember we used to get to the show like Tully or something, and you'd let it was the first thing to come down, Mickey. You'd open the cage up, and he had a big collar around it. He'd have it on a chain, and he'd take it over and put a tent peg in and chain it up next to the tent. Anyway, this time, and in those days, all the showgrounds had tanks, and you had to fill your kerosene tins. It used to fill them up with water and take them back to caravan. There's no taps on the showground. Yeah. So Mickey, when he got off one stage, he got up there, and everyone's filling their cans of water up. And Mickey seen the water, and he over with his legs, and he went running over to get some water, and everyone himself. Women started screaming. All he wanted was a drink. Yeah. Then my grandfather go and get him and take him back on the chain and put him back there. And I used to go around. I was about 5, I think I was. And I used to jump on his back, and pat him and everything. And he used to just sleep all day. That's what he done. And when we put him into the tent show, people would pay to see Mickey the alligator. It was all painted up out the front. And they'd come in and just be a rope around him. And he had the chain, with a tent peg. He'd just lay there asleep, and all these young louts would come in and say, he's dead, he's not even a live alligator. And my grandfather, he'd be there with one of those little Cupid canes. And he'd say, Freddie, jump on the back there. And I'd just come in and jump on his back. and he'd go like that. He'd get the cane and tap his nose. He'd wake up, Mickey, and he'd go, "Roar," bring his jaws open and turn around to the audience and he'd himself and run outside. And he'd done that every time he tapped him on the, and then he'd go back to sleep. And I used to give him a little pat and go away. I'd go, yeah. And he ended up in Cairns. He was lifting it up to take it off, and it was about a 12 or 13 foot drop. And the wire broke, and it come down. The wire broke, and the cage come down, and he was pretty old, and it killed him.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So the zoo got in contact with my grandfather and said, look, can we keep that alligator, put it in the morgue up there at the hospital, I think it was. We want it sent back to Brisbane, and we want all the vets and that and the taxidermists to examine it because it never had an alligator before. Anyway, and if we do that, we'll stuff it for you and give it back to you. And that's what my grandfather did. They took it all the way down to Brisbane. Then my grandfather died. My grandmother had it stored in a shed. She ended up getting it out and showing it stuffed.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah, right.
At the show.
Yeah. And then put it away, and that was in Western Australia. Yeah. So that's what happened to Mickey.
Yeah.
Fred, I got to ask, mate. You seem to have lost a little bit of your finger there, mate. What's going on?
Which one?
Well,
Which one?
okay. Well, we've got two of the pinkies there. What's going on, mate?
That one I cut off the escape from prison. I cut it off. They said if you cut it off, you can go to the hospital and escape. You'd be right. Because I had 3 years to go, see, and I didn't like it. So I went down. I said to the screw, look, I've cut this off on the bread slice. I was working in the kitchen. Oh, we'll have to go and get that sewed up. I said, so far, so good. Away we went. They handcuffed the both of me. And it was in Fremantle. It's in the hospital just down the end of the road. So you just walk down there. They walked me down. As soon as I got in there, the nurse said, take those handcuffs off him. I said, that's number 2, sound all right. So he said, where do you want him? They said, bring him in here. And they took me in. They had the finger, but it was too late to sew back on.
Right.
Anyway, he said, where do you want him? On this bed, lay him on that bed. And they said, now take the handcuffs off him. So one bloke took one handcuff off me.
Yeah.
And I said, so far, so good. Then he handcuffed me to the top of the bed with me hand. So I was handcuffed and I still had this finger. So the doctor came in, stitched it up. I was there for half an hour. He said, take him back. So they unhandcuffed me. He took me back, so I'd done it for nothing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So that's that one. Okay. Take us through this one.
That one's a bit smaller, see?
Yeah.
Well, since then I've got my lovely wife that won't marry me.
Yeah.
And when I first met her, and she said, she didn't believe me that I really loved her like I loved her.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll show you. And it was at Mount Gambier. Actually, Chad Morgan was there. It was at my fire.
He's only just recently passed
He
too.
just passed away, yeah. He refereed my first fight I ever had in my boxing tent with his guitar.
Are you serious?
Yeah, years ago.
I've met Chad a few times in the country
he
music
refereed
circuit. So.
my fight, the first one I ever had.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I got my mates all around the fire and there was a dog there, so I just got the axe and cut it off. I was going to sew it back.
Hang on, stop. Sorry. You cut it off because why?
Because my wife didn't believe that I loved her, see. So I said, I'll show you. So I just went bang, cut it off, went over like that, and I said, look, and she was in the caravan. I said, look, that's how much I love you. She said, you friggin' idiot. I said, go and get that and sew it back on again straight away. You idiot. So I went back over to pick it up, and my mate's dog ate it. It was a blue heeler. It was a blue heeler dog, and he was chewing my finger up. So I couldn't sew it back on. So there they are there. That's the story of them two. It's in my book, actually.
My goodness.
No, I love it. I love
Now
it.
listen to all the ladies. If my wife is listening, I do love you. But if you don't mind, I am going to keep all my fingers.
Hey, go on, you blokes. Now, you prove it to your wives that you
Brad,
really love her.
Yeah, prove it to
Do the right
Kylie,
way.
mate. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, let's go.
So, Fred, just mate, wrap it up. If you could sum up your life and just a bit of advice for people, the young people out there today, what would it be?
Well, do the right thing. Don't break the law. Help someone out if you can, and treat people like they treat you, and just keep getting up. If you get knocked down, just keep getting up. At the end, it'll all come back to you, and it'll be worthwhile because you're an Australian.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Fred, to have you here. Come on in and join us on the NIOA Unloaded podcast.
Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure, boys. You're great blokes to talk with.
Thanks, mate. It's been great.
Thanks very much, Australia.